It's Thursday, October 8. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Carol Francis. We begin our newscast with the latest COVID-19 update from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
128 persons have now died from COVID-19. Over the past 24 hours, 2 more fatalities were recorded. They are a 59-year-old female from St. Elizabeth and an 82-year-old male from Westmoreland, previously under investigation. A 56-year-old female was also listed as a coincidental death. The island also recorded 82 new COVID-19 cases over the same period, bringing the overall tally to 7,273. According to the Health and Wellness Ministry, 32 recoveries were also recorded, bringing the overall figures to 2,732. The number of active cases now stands at 4,315. At this time, there are 28 moderately ill and 12 critically ill patients. 154 persons are currently hospitalized. 4 persons are quarantined in a government facility. In the meantime, there are 21,938 persons quarantined at home. Currently, there are 488 imported cases and 416 cases of local transmission, while 851 are contacts of confirmed cases. 236 are associated with the St. Catherine Workplace Cluster, and 5,282 cases are under investigation. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
There are high hopes that the coronavirus antibody tests could help Jamaica's containment measures for COVID-19. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says private laboratories are now engaged in the training for antigen testing for COVID-19. It's reportedly part of the measures to ensure the quality of test results across public and private facilities. Simone Absalom has more in this report.
The Health Ministry has approved antigen testing for COVID-19 under the guidance of the Pan American Health Organization and the World Health Organization, and kits are to arrive in the island this month for use initially in the public sector. In the meantime, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the antigen test is cost-effective and he expects a faster turnaround time for test results.
While the PCR test remains the gold standard, the antigen tests achieve a high degree of reliability at a fraction of the cost, with results being available within 30 minutes.
He stressed that it's extremely important, however, that the Health Ministry has full visibility of all test results.
We will also be assessing and approving private laboratories to conduct COVID-19 testing. It is extremely important, however, that the Ministry has full visibility of all the tests that are conducted. All private labs conducting tests will therefore be mandated to report the results to the National Public Health Laboratory.
The Prime Minister was speaking in Parliament on Tuesday. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Simone Absalom.
The novel coronavirus pandemic has revealed and compounded underlying problems in Jamaica's healthcare system. As case loads increase, more hospitalizations are required. Healthcare workers face longer working hours and are at risk of high levels of exposure and general stress. To mitigate the human toll, the Health and Wellness Ministry on Tuesday launched the Healthcare Workers Welfare Program. The private sector will partner with the government for this initiative. Grace Kennedy is one of those partners.
As the pandemic has evolved, our subsidiaries have also stepped in to support our healthcare professionals by offering discounts on products and services, groceries, meals, and care packages for those most in need. And we are willing to do more.
One of the professionals that stand to benefit from the program is Antonia Richards Stewart, a registered nurse at the Kingston Public Hospital. She recounts the challenges for the health team as they treated their first positive team on the COVID-19 ward.
No, I was afraid, but my team sat in silence as we listened as they read the results for the patient. We are going to be okay. I gave them that look. But in my heart of hearts, I can say, I too was afraid. The patient is positive. What are we going to do? The same thing we decided to do before we came here. Care for the patient, regardless of what the circumstances is. Put on your PPEs and go out there in faith.
The community transmission phase has led to an escalating number of fatalities. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says this can be traumatic for clinicians and underscore the vital need for the initiative.
It is also the phase in which, regrettably, there are higher numbers of deaths from COVID-19 related complications. You know, death brings a level of finality to those who pass and those who have memories of life. To the public health worker, it brings stress and to some extent even trauma, because even though you don't know the person, you relate sufficient to them to see them transition. And I've seen where it has been difficult to come to terms with. They need counseling and they need support too. That's the point that is very important to be made. Now more than ever, we need our healthcare workers to operate at their optimum. It is against this background that we are launching today officially the Staff Welfare Program, which has been designed specifically with our public health workers in mind, and their support systems, including their family members, very importantly. The program has 5 essential components. It has a human resource management component. It has a psychosocial support component, a rest and relaxation component, a COVID support component, and finally, a wellness component.
The objectives of the Healthcare Workers Welfare Program are to increase staff morale, reduce the effects of burnout, build staff capacity within facilities, and boost overall effectiveness and efficiency of service delivery. Special allowances under the program also include a COVID-19 allowance. To date, approximately 140 healthcare workers have been infected with the virus. More than 500 have been required to quarantine. A component of the new program allows for care packages to all healthcare staff in isolation and quarantine. The age limit for persons to stay at home has been lowered from 70 to 65 years. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the disclosure in Parliament this week. The measure is in keeping with the government's efforts to control community spread of the coronavirus COVID-19 and to protect the most vulnerable from the virus. The Prime Minister also gave advice on proactive and preventive measures against COVID-19.
So we are saying that persons 65 years and older must continue to stay at home. And when we say stay at home, we're not saying you must be locked up in your house, locked off from the world, shunned and put in a corner. That's not what the measure is about. And I know how difficult it is for some persons who are within this age group, fit and hearty and ill and move about, and they are responsible for their own welfare for such an order to be in place. For some, it may even seem discriminatory. But if we are going to control the pandemic and reduce the loss of life, we have to put in place such a measure.
Prime Minister Holness says that most persons who have died from COVID-19 are 65 years and older. He says that while persons in this age group need to be extra careful, so too do younger people.
While the younger persons may sometimes be asymptomatic, they have contracted the virus but have no symptoms. They don't even know they have it. They don't even have a fever, many of them. Their immune system is so strong. But they can inadvertently infect others. They can inadvertently spread the virus, and in particularly to vulnerable populations, such as those persons 65 and older.
Mr. Holness notes that young people are not invincible, as some have contracted the disease.
Young people are being infected and young persons have died, and young people are transmitting the virus. While many persons recover completely within a few weeks, some persons, even those who have had mild versions of the disease, continue to experience lingering symptoms after their initial recovery.
The Prime Minister says in addition to the safety protocols, wearing masks, maintaining physical distance, and washing hands frequently, Jamaicans should also maintain a healthy lifestyle and boost their immune system.
A part of managing this pandemic and living with the disease is for every single Jamaican to become aware of their health status and take the necessary precautions to improve their health.
Mr. Holness says everyone should be seen as a potential carrier of the disease, and building your immunity could influence how your health is affected if you contract COVID-19. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Simone Absalom.
Low-risk inmates could be released early in the wake of this spike in COVID-19 cases at correctional facilities. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of National Security, Matthew Samuda, says the government will announce its decision next week. He made the disclosure following a tour of the Tower Street Adult Correctional Center as he responded to calls for the release of some inmates. He says inquiries are being made regarding underlying illnesses and time left on sentences. The Department of Correctional Services COVID-19 dashboard shows that 23 inmates and 33 staff members have tested positive for the viral illness. Director of Medical Services for the Department of Correctional Services, Dr. Donna Michelle Royer-Powell, has said inmates who contracted COVID-19 have recuperated. 27 farm workers from Jamaica employed to Chaplin Orchards in the United States have reportedly tested positive for COVID-19. Reports are that the Jamaicans arrived in the United States on September 14 and were transported to the farm located in Vermont. They were reportedly housed together for 14 days. The first positive test came on October 3. The Jamaicans are being given medical care. State officials say the 27 positive cases contributed to the biggest one-day increase in cases since June 3, in a state that has consistently had one of the nation's lowest infection rates. Motorists will pay less at the pumps this week for gas, but for those that use diesel, there is a hike. We get the details on these and other market indicators from Gabriel Thompson in the Business Report.
According to the latest ex-refinery costs from Petrojam, motorists should see a decrease at the pumps in the prices of gasoline and an increase in the prices of diesel effective Thursday, October 8, 2020. Following a decrease of $3.06 each, 87 and 90 octane gasoline will be sold for $110.24 and $113.07 per liter, respectively. Automotive diesel fuel will be sold for $109.97 per liter, following an increase of 25 cents, while ultra-low sulfur diesel saw an increase of 25 cents and will be sold for $112.05 per liter. Meanwhile, kerosene increased in price by 90 cents and will be sold for $84.80 per liter. Following a 27-cent increase, propane liquid petroleum will be sold for $45.86 per liter, and butane liquid petroleum will be sold for $49.73 per liter after a decrease of 99 cents. Retailers and marketing companies will add their markup to these prices. In Wednesday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index advanced by 82 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall, market activity resulted from trading in 83 stocks, of which 37 advanced, 38 declined, and 8 traded firm. The junior market index declined by 33 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 1834 Investments Limited, Access Financial Services, and Barita Investments Limited. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica, Berger Paints Jamaica, and Cargo Handlers Limited. Trading firm were AMG Packaging and Paper Company, Caribbean Cement Company, and Derrimont Trading Company Limited. Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares was the volume leader with 8.3 million units, followed by Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with 2.4 million units and JMMB Group Limited with 1.4 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Wednesday, October 7, ended trading at $144.48. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $109.34. The pound sterling traded for $188.58, and the euro ended trading at $172.75. Oil rose above $42 a barrel on Thursday, supported by output shutdowns in the U.S. Gulf of Mexico and the prospect of more supply losses in Norway, as well as by hopes for some U.S. coronavirus relief aid. Oil and gas workers have withdrawn from offshore U.S. Gulf production facilities, and as Hurricane Delta was forecast to intensify into a powerful Category 3 storm, nearly 1.5 million barrels of daily output was halted. Brent crude futures rose 67 cents to $42.66 a barrel after falling 1.6% on Wednesday. West Texas Intermediate crude futures gained 52 cents to $40.47 a barrel. And that's it for this edition of the Business Report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
If you wanted twin hearty smoked meat flavors, jerk and fresh juices, then head over to Chilean Grill in Havendale. That's where the culinary trail stopped this week.
Chilean Grill came about because my family has a farm, and throughout all the years, the meat price of pig was on a steady price despite the cost of feeds and the different inputs going up. So out of doing plain dominoes and doing a little, you just throw on a grill for your friends, that was where Chilean Grill started actually 3 years ago, where we use locally grown meat, because sometimes I don't have enough on my farm, so I have to buy from Copperwood or buy elsewhere. But we use locally grown meats, and then we season. Part of our secret is that Chef and I, we season at least 5 days in advance. So it gives the meat time to marinate. And then, as you know, crispy pork, which is one of our specialties, is, oh Lord, how do you describe it apart from divine? But when you're a pork lover, crispy pork is the best way to have pork, because it's like pork served with love. That is the La Caja China box. That is the secret to the crispy pork. That is the secret to the crunchy, crackling pork skin that everyone loves. It actually was invented in Cuba, in Chinatown in Cuba, mimicking how they cook pork, like bury it in the ground and put the coal on top. So the pork sits in the bottom, and then you slow cook it. So you get this moist, well-cooked pulled pork effect. Awesome, awesome, awesome. In fact, some people call it the magic of the box, because it's magical. 1 week, a customer said, I don't eat pork, can you do salmon? And we did grill salmon, and the gentleman's report, when he left here, he sent a picture. By the time he was at Manningsville Road, it was finished. So We are versatile, so we will cook what you want. But we do have steamed fish, we do have roast fish, and we do have jerk chicken like you have never had it before. Because the box, again, there's magic in the box. Always, we have barbecue pigtail, which is a Jamaican favorite. We have steam and roast fish. We have jerk chicken. We have, chef's specialty is barbecue honey glazed ribs. Now I promise you, come and taste the ribs, it will be like no other. Seasoned with love and cooked and served with passion. We use all natural products, and so it will be natural for us to do natural juices. I have a young man who is a friend of my son who makes natural juices.
Hi, I'm Nigel Brady. I am the founder of Nature's Sip, and what we offer is a myriad of flavors of 100% natural beverages, right? All homegrown produce, and you have the choice of sweetened or unsweetened. Most customers tend to prefer the unsweetened because you actually feel the wellness in it at the first sip. So initially, that's the sip of change that we intend to offer or already offering to the diets of Jamaicans.
So we are a family setting, although we can't have the gathering now because of Corona. But if you want to go someplace where you're comfortable and feel mama's love then, Chilean Grill is the place for you. What we have done because of COVID, everything has been converted to grab and go. So we invested in a warmer where we can keep the food warm, and then we schedule pickups. So if you don't want to come out of your car, you can tell us what time you're coming and we'll meet you at the gate and deliver it. Or if you want it delivered at a small cost, we'll send it to you. If you are having a private gathering and you just want awesome grilled foods, or matter of fact, awesome any foods, you can call us and we will package it and deliver it for you. Because the idea is we grill and you chill. So you just bring the orders to us and we will deliver it to you wherever you are. So you have fun and stay safe in your neck of the woods. We now cook on every last Saturday, but food is ready from 9 in the morning. So we cater to the man who wants to go bird bush or want to go beach. Him can come early, pick up him crispy pork and head to the hills. Why Chilean Grill? If you want succulent pork, if you want pork that you will lick your fingers, if you think Kentucky's finger licking, come to Chilean Grill. I promise you, you're gonna get food with love. Food served with love and with passion.
In regional news, the Guyana Public Service Union has given the government a 2-week ultimatum to wrap up negotiations on the demands being made by nurses and other healthcare workers in the public sector. We have more in this report.
The nurses are pushing for increased risk allowances, improved salaries, and additional protective gear as they remain on the front line of the fight against COVID-19.
Agreement was reached with the Guyana Public Service Union and the government in relation to the healthcare workers' industrial action. They were given, the agreement is that they were given 2 weeks to meet our demands. And if our demands are not met following the completion of the 2 weeks, then we will take full action, full industrial action.
But while the government has started discussions with the representatives for the nurses and the Georgetown Hospital, President Irfan Ali said he wants the nurses and other health workers to realize that their demands must also take into account the current reality of the economy. He spoke to News Source this afternoon.
When you look at the nurses, we have to look at it in a holistic manner in relation to what is taking place in our economy. And we have the right way to do things and we have the wrong way to do things. Now, there clearly established criteria, protocols, and guidelines as to how the nurses could have approached whatever issues they had. None of those protocols or guidelines or the law was broken.
The president said the nurses stand to benefit from more than just the $150 million that has been set aside in the budget for them. He reminded that every household will also benefit from a $25,000 COVID-19 relief package and other budget measures. But when pressed by News Source about immediate steps to address the immediate concerns of nurses and to meet their demands, the president said the government cannot just look at the immediate needs of the nurses alone.
As a government, we have to look at the immediate needs of all of Guyana. We have to look at the medium-term needs and the long-term needs. And then we have to plan and forecast based on affordability, based on immediate revenue stream, medium-term revenue stream, and long-term revenue stream. And that is the difference between running a government and you have to understand the complexity of the issue. You have to understand that it is not a singular issue that a singular variable you have to look at when you're in government. There's a multifaceted number of variables that you have to look at in addressing a single issue.
Nurses at the Georgetown Hospital have been protesting almost daily during the lunch hour in their efforts to press the government and the hospital's management to look into their concerns and their demands. While recognizing the role nurses have been playing during the ongoing pandemic, the president said as essential workers, the nurses should also understand the critical needs for health workers.
And the question we have to ask, Gordon, that you should ask also, is how do you deal with essential workers like the nurses breaching the law, operating outside of the law? Then what is the purpose of laws if we are not going to adhere to the laws and guidelines? These laws and guidelines are there not for fashion, because they recognize that certain services are essential to the public good. Certain services are essential in maintaining life.
President Ali said he agrees with the Attorney General's recent statement reminding nurses and other health workers of the terms of their contracts and the consequences attached to breaching those terms. He said he did not see the Attorney General's statement as any threat. Union officials and the nurses themselves have accused the Attorney General of threatening their livelihoods rather than encouraging the settling of their dispute.
Over in the Bahamas, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis announced a series of restrictive measures aimed at stopping the rapid spread of COVID-19 on New Providence and Abaco. Mr. Minnis announced weekend lockdowns, a new curfew, and beach closures. He has described the COVID-19 pandemic as World War III. Jasmine Brown reports.
Is the worst crisis the Bahamas have faced in its modern history. We are living in an unprecedented global emergency.
It was with those words that Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis made a case for the implementation of harsher restrictions for New Providence and Abaco. He told parliamentarians that Cabinet agreed to the multi-dimensional measures after a meeting with Pan American Health Organization and Ministry of Health officials. The PM said, acting on advice, a 24-hour weekend lockdown is back in effect starting Friday at 7 p.m.
During these weekend 24-hour curfews, only essential services, including the uniformed branches, customs and immigration departments, public health services, sanitation services, and essential utility services will be permitted to operate. Sea and airports will continue to operate, and there will be no interruption to flights. The only other movement beside essential service will be for 1 hour of worship services on Saturdays and Sundays between the hours of 7 a.m. and 1 p.m.
No food stores, pharmacies, gas stations, construction sites, or laundromats will be permitted to operate during the full 24-hour weekend curfews. Also beginning this Friday are nightly weeknight curfews from 7 p.m. to 5 a.m. Dr. Minnis also made it clear certain activities will not be allowed, as he revealed a confidential hotline for citizens to report on people hosting social gatherings has been established.
And the police will be aggressive for pursuing those aggressively in the case of any Airbnb. This will be strictly enforced in order to reduce and control the spread of COVID-19. The curfews, Mr. Speaker, will likewise be enforced. And the police will set up monitoring stations at the various locations, and individuals on the street at 7:01 will be prosecuted.
Funerals and weddings have been severely restricted once again. Gyms will once again be closed after only reopening last week, and schools on New Providence and Abaco can only offer virtual learning.
I also wish to advise that beaches and parks on New Providence and Abaco will once again be closed. Exercise is permitted in one's neighborhood Monday to Friday between the hours of 5 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
In sports, International Olympic Committee member Sebastian Coe says he supports the right of athletes to advocate for social or racial justice at next year's postponed Olympics. Speaking at Tokyo's new national stadium, his comment is in direct opposition to Rule 50 of the Olympic Charter, which says, quote, "No kind of demonstration or political, religious, or racial propaganda is permitted in any Olympic sites, venues, or other areas," end quote. The Tokyo Games was postponed to 2021 because of the coronavirus pandemic. Mr. Coe is in the Japanese capital on a courtesy visit to Tokyo Olympic organizers. 2020 has seen the rise of social flashpoints, such as the Black Lives Matter movement. More than ever, sport figures are using their platforms for personal space of protests. And that's our package. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same place, for more news, sports, and weather right here on PBCJ, the People's Station.